If you can't trust me hanging out with my ex, what else can you trust me with? Maybe we should just break up. Those were the words that ended everything. My name is Samuel, and I'm going to tell you how my wife's ultimatum became the biggest mistake of her life. Michelle slammed her hand on the dinner table, her phone buzzing for the 5th time in 10 minutes. Another text from Dustin. I watched her glance at it, that little smirk playing at the corner of her mouth. The same smirk I'd been seeing for months now. We need to talk about your trust issues, Samuel, she said, setting down her wine glass with deliberate precision. I kept cutting my steak, my movements calm, measured. What trust issues? Dustin invited me to his lake house this weekend. You have that look again. I paused, fork midair. The look where I wonder why my wife needs weekend getaways with her ex-boyfriend? That's when she exploded. When she threw down those words like a grenade, expecting me to scramble to defuse it. Expecting tears, begging, the usual fight where I'd eventually cave and apologize for having boundaries. Instead, I set down my fork with the same careful precision she'd used with her wine glass. I looked at her, really looked at her, and saw a stranger wearing my wife's face. Okay, I said. The smirk vanished. Confusion flickered across her features, then something that might have been panic. She'd expected a reaction. Drama. Emotion. I stood up, grabbed my keys from the counter and walked toward the door. Samuel, wait. I didn't wait. I got in my car, pulled out of the driveway and left her standing in that doorway. In my pocket, I felt the business card I'd been carrying for 3 months. Patricia Chin, attorney at law. Divorce specialist. It was time to make a call. Please, before I continue, kindly like, share and subscribe for more interesting videos. 24 hours before that dinner, I was sitting at my desk at work when my phone vibrated. A notification from Instagram. My younger cousin Tyler had tagged me in a comment. Bro, isn't this your wife? My hand moved before my brain caught up. I clicked the link. The photo made my stomach drop. Michelle in a designer dress I'd never seen, sitting close to Dustin at some upscale restaurant, her hand resting on his arm like it belonged there. Her head thrown back in laughter, the kind of genuine joy I hadn't seen her direct at me in months. The caption gutted me, second chances exist for a reason, clinking glasses. I screenshot it. Then I did what I should have done weeks ago. I scrolled through Dustin's entire profile. 3 weeks ago, Michelle at a wine tasting wearing the outfit she'd claimed to wear to a nursing conference. 2 months ago, Michelle at a concert the same night she told me she was having a girls' night out. The lies stacked up like evidence in a murder trial, and my marriage was the corpse. My hands were shaking. I opened my laptop, fingers hovering over the keyboard. The search bar felt like a confession. Best divorce attorney's confidential consultation. I stared at those words for a full minute. Once I pressed enter, there was no going back. This wasn't paranoia or insecurity anymore. This was my wife living a double life, and I had the receipts. I clicked. The first result was Patricia Chen's law firm. 5-star reviews. Specialty in high-asset divorce cases. Discreet consultations. I called before I could talk myself out of it. Chin Law Office, how may I help you? I need to file for divorce, I heard myself say. And my wife can't know until I'm ready. The receptionist didn't even pause. Can you come in tomorrow morning at 9? I'll be there. Patricia Chen's office was in a discreet building downtown, the kind of place you'd walk past without noticing. She slid the consultation agreement across her desk, her sharp eyes assessing me like a surgeon examining a patient. You said on the phone this needs to be airtight and invisible, she said. I pulled out the folder I'd prepared. Screenshots, bank statements, dates, locations. Everything organized like the engineer I was. My wife is having an emotional affair. Maybe physical, I don't know. I need to file for divorce, but she can't know until I'm ready to execute. Patricia flipped through the documents, her expression never changing. The house, is it joint ownership? My name only. I bought it before marriage. She's never contributed to the mortgage. Vehicles. Both titled in my name. I've been the sole earner for 3 years since she went part-time at the hospital. Joint accounts. I slid over more statements. 3 accounts. I've documented every withdrawal she's made for Dustin. $3,200 in the last 2 months. Designer clothes, restaurants I've never been to, hotel bars. For the first time, Patricia's eyebrow raised. She was impressed. Mr. Samuel, I'll be honest. With this documentation and asset structure, you can execute what I call a strategic exit. But it requires absolute discipline. Can you live with her, sleep in the same house, show zero emotion while we prepare? I thought about the past 3 months. Watching her text him at dinner. Hearing her laugh on phone calls she took in the other room. The way she'd stopped kissing me goodbye in the mornings. I've been doing that for 3 months already, I said, my voice cold as winter. One more week won't kill me. Patricia handed me a sealed envelope. Don't open this until I text you a code word. When you get that text, you'll have 12 hours to execute everything. I pocketed it. Then I slid off my wedding ring and placed it on her desk. Let's begin. When I came back home after that dinner ultimatum, Michelle was in our bedroom, phone in hand, clearly texting Dustin. She looked up when I walked in, expecting me to come back apologetic, tail between my legs. You're right, I said calmly. Her fingers stopped mid-text. What? About us. We should break up. I'll start looking at apartments this week. I watched her face cycle through emotions, shock, disbelief, panic, then that forced confidence she wore like armor. Wait, you're serious? You asked for a divorce. I'm agreeing. Dustin clearly makes you happier than I do. She scrambled off the bed. I didn't mean, Samuel, I was just, you've been so distant lately. I'm not fighting anymore, Michelle. I walked to the closet and grabbed my duffel bag. The one I'd already packed 2 days ago at Marcus's place. I threw in a few more clothes for show. I'm tired. Where are you going? Marcus's place. I'll sleep there until we figure out the details. She reached for my arm and I felt nothing. 3 years ago, her touch could change my entire day. Now it was just pressure on my skin. Samuel, wait please. I pulled away gently. You wanted this, Michelle. I'm just giving you what you asked for. The door closed with a soft click behind me. In my car I sat for a moment, breathing. My phone showed 17 missed calls from my mother over the past week. She'd sensed something was wrong the way mothers do. I'd call her from Singapore. I drove to Marcus's apartment where my actual bags were already stored. Where my passport with the fresh Singapore visa sat waiting. Where the next chapter of my life was already written. Michelle called Dustin that night. I know because Marcus told me later. Dustin told her he couldn't come over, had an investor dinner. She was alone with her choices. Marcus handed me a beer in his apartment, shaking his head. My phone lit up on the coffee table, another text from Michelle. The 14th one that day, a mix of anger and apologies. You really doing this, man? Marcus asked. Flight's Friday. Everything's already in motion. She has no idea? I showed him my phone, the detailed timeline Patricia's team had sent. House closes Wednesday. Private buyer, cash offer, 15% below market. Cars get picked up Thursday morning by the repo company, except they're not repossessing, they're buying. Singapore HR is processing my visa as we speak. Damn brother. You're ice cold. I took a long drink. I loved her, Marcus. I would have died for her. But she chose him. Now I choose me. Tuesday came. I met the real estate buyer in a coffee shop, a private investor who wanted a quick flip. He handed me a cashier's check for $265,000. The house was worth $310,000, but I didn't care. Speed over profit. The money went straight into my new account at Singapore's DBS Bank. Wednesday, Michelle posted Instagram stories from brunch with Dustin. Laughing, carefree, living her best life. She texted me about couples therapy. I left it on read. Thursday morning, 2 tow trucks showed up at my workplace parking lot. Michelle's Mercedes and my truck, both gone by 10 a.m. The repo company was actually a private auto buyer Patricia had connected me with. Another $30,000 transferred immediately. Thursday afternoon my phone buzzed. Patricia's text read, "Checkmate." I opened the sealed envelope she'd given me. Inside were the divorce papers, account closure confirmations, and a letter template. I sat down and began typing. Dear Michelle, by the time you read this, I'll be 7,000 miles away. My flight confirmation glowed on my laptop screen. Friday, 11:45 p.m. Singapore Airlines. One way. Friday morning, Michelle woke up in our bed, the bed that was no longer ours, in the house that was no longer mine, to silence. She checked her phone. I hadn't responded to any messages in 2 days. She called Dustin. I'm coming to the lake house. I know what happened that weekend because Marcus has a friend who knows Veronica, Dustin's actual girlfriend. Michelle spent the weekend trying to feel the excitement she expected, but Dustin was distracted, checking his phone constantly. Is everything okay? Michelle asked him. Yeah, just work stuff, Dustin said, not meeting her eyes. That night, Michelle saw his phone light up with a text from V with a heart emoji. Miss you baby, see you Sunday? Who's V? Michelle's voice was small. Dustin laughed it off. Veronica, my business partner. We're working on a new app together. But he angled his phone away after that. Michelle felt something shift, something hollow settling in her chest. The weekend suddenly felt like a mistake. Meanwhile, I was at the airport 3 hours early. My entire life fit in 2 checked bags and a carry-on. Marcus had driven me, gave me a hug that felt like goodbye to an entire version of myself. At 11 p.m., 1 hour before takeoff, I executed the final step. I sent Patricia the email, green light. Her team filed the divorce papers electronically. Michelle would be served at the house she no longer had access to. Then I typed a text to Michelle, scheduled to send at 11:30 after takeoff. Michelle, by the time you read this, I'm gone. The house is sold. The cars are sold. The accounts are closed. You wanted freedom to choose Dustin, now you're free. Don't try to contact me. You said if I didn't trust you we should break up. I chose to trust your words. Goodbye. I boarded the plane and didn't look back. Michelle drove home Sunday morning, her stomach tight with anxiety. The weekend with Dustin had felt wrong. He'd barely touched her, spent half the time on mysterious calls, mentioned, keeping things low-key for now. She pulled into the driveway and her world stopped. Her clothes, shoes, makeup, everything, piled on the front lawn in black trash bags like garbage waiting for collection. She ran to the door. Her key turned but nothing happened. The locks had been changed. Samuel. She pounded on the door, her voice breaking. Samuel, open the door. Mrs. Henderson from next door walked by with her dog, staring. Michelle's face burned with humiliation. She tried her credit card at the nearest ATM. Declined. The second card. Declined. The third. Declined. Shaking, she called her bank. All joint accounts were closed by the primary holder on Friday at 11 a.m. Ma'am. She called Dustin. Voicemail. Called again. Voicemail. She tried my number. The automated voice was clinical. The number you have dialed is no longer in service. Michelle screamed, actually screamed, in her car in the driveway of a house she no longer had keys to. She drove to Marcus's apartment, mascara running down her face. Marcus answered the intercom but wouldn't let her up. He's gone, Michelle. Singapore. And he told me if you showed up, to tell you his lawyer will be in touch. Marcus, please, I just need to talk to him. He doesn't want to talk to you. He's moved on. The intercom went dead. Michelle sat in her mother's old Camry, because her Mercedes was gone, and sobbed until she couldn't breathe. Then she drove 40 minutes to her parents' house in the suburbs, the house she'd grown up in, the house she swore she'd never have to return to. Her mother opened the door, shocked. Michelle? What happened? He left, Michelle whispered. Samuel left. He took everything. Saturday morning at her parents' house, Michelle's father Robert sat at the kitchen table reading the divorce papers that had been served by courier an hour earlier. Michelle, did you cheat on him? His voice was measured, careful. No. I was hanging out with Dustin. We didn't sleep together or anything. Robert cut her off, his finger on a line in the documents. It says here you spent $3,200 of joint funds on extramarital affair activities. There are receipts attached. Restaurant charges, hotel bars, concert tickets. Those were just dinners. We never. Did you ask Samuel for a divorce? Michelle's voice went small. I said maybe we should break up. But I didn't mean it. Robert closed the papers slowly. He meant it. Michelle's mother Diane tried to comfort her, but even she looked disappointed. Sweetheart, what were you thinking? He's supposed to fight for me. He's supposed to come back and... He did fight, Robert said quietly. He fought smart. A letter fell out of the divorce packet. Michelle's hands shook as she opened it. The words blurred through her tears, but certain phrases cut through like knives. You threw it away for Instagram posts and expensive dinners with a man who never truly wanted you back. Ask him about Veronica. Michelle's stomach dropped. Veronica. I couldn't trust you with our marriage. You threw it away for a fantasy. The house. Sold. I bought it before I knew you. You never earned it. You thought my silence was weakness. You underestimated the man you married. I hope it was worth it. The letter was signed simply, Samuel. There was a postscript. You said maybe we should break up. I simply trusted your judgment. Michelle crumpled the letter, sobbing so hard she couldn't catch her breath. Her phone buzzed. Dustin, finally returning her 17 calls. She answered desperately. Dustin, I need you. Samuel left and everything's gone and... His voice was cold, distant. Yeah, Michelle, about that. I think we should cool things off. This got way too complicated. Veronica's not comfortable with... The line went dead. Michelle stared at the phone. Her entire world had collapsed in 72 hours. Monday morning, Michelle woke up on her parents' couch to 47 Instagram notifications. Someone had leaked the story. The post was everywhere. Update. Remember Michelle who was always posting with her bestie Dustin while married? Her husband just divorced her, sold everything and moved to Singapore. She came home to her stuff on the lawn. Skull. The comments were brutal. Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. She really thought he'd just take it forever, LMAO. Dustin already has a whole girlfriend, Michelle was just a side piece. That man is a legend. Someone had posted my LinkedIn profile, Samuel Rodriguez, Senior Engineering Manager, Singapore. Started new position. Michelle tried to make her account private, but screenshots were already circulating. Her face, her name, her humiliation, viral for all the wrong reasons. She called Dustin one last time. He answered, annoyed. Michelle, seriously, I told you? Did you ever actually want me back? Her voice cracked. Long pause. Look, it was fun. You're gorgeous. But I'm with Veronica. I have been for 8 months. You knew this wasn't serious. I left my husband for you. No, Dustin said flatly. You left your husband because you wanted to. Don't put that on me. He hung up. Michelle screamed into a pillow. Her mother watched from the doorway, silent and pale. Diane had encouraged this. Had told Michelle for years that pretty girls have options, that she shouldn't settle, that men like Samuel were safe but boring. Now Diane saw her advice reflected back at her like a mirror showing an ugly truth. Tuesday, Michelle tried one last desperate move. She called Patricia Chen's office. Mrs. Rodriguez? Patricia's voice was professional ice. The divorce is no fault, uncontested. Mr. Samuel is requesting nothing from you because you have nothing he wants. Sign the papers and this ends quietly. Fight it and we'll subpoena every text, every photo, every receipt. I just want to talk to him. He doesn't want to talk to you. He's moved on. The line went dead. 6 months passed like a prison sentence. Michelle got a part-time job at a retail store, the kind where she folded clothes and dealt with rude customers for $11 an hour. She lived with her parents, drove her mother's old Camry, bought generic brand groceries. Every night she scrolled through old photos. Samuel at their wedding, looking at her like she was the only woman in the world. Samuel surprising her with flowers after a hard shift at the hospital. Samuel building a bookshelf for her nursing textbooks, his hands covered in sawdust, grinning. She saw what she'd lost. Really saw it. One night, desperate and broken, she wrote an email. 4 pages long. Apologies, explanations, begging for a chance to at least talk. She hit send and waited. 3 days later it bounced back. Address not found. User does not exist. He'd erased her completely. Changed his email, his phone number, his entire digital footprint. She tried finding him on LinkedIn. His profile was set to private, visible only to connections. She'd never been one. Her therapist, her parents insisted she go, asked her the question that haunted her. What did Samuel give you that Dustin couldn't? Safety, Michelle whispered, crying. Loyalty. Actual love. And what did Dustin give you? Excitement. Validation. The feeling that I was still desirable. And was that worth your marriage? Michelle didn't answer. The silence was answer enough. Meanwhile, 7,000 miles away, I was living a completely different life. My high-rise apartment overlooked Marina Bay, the Singapore skyline glittering like scattered diamonds. My salary increase meant I saved more in 1 month than I did in 6 months back home. At work, I met Lisa, a project coordinator from Australia. Smart, funny, genuine. No games, no tests, no drama. We grabbed coffee after a late meeting. So why Singapore? She asked. You don't seem like the run away from home type. I smiled. I'm not running away. I'm running towards something better. 1 year after everything fell apart, Michelle was at LAX for a layover. She'd finally taken her career seriously, was traveling for a nursing certification course, trying to rebuild her life piece by piece. She was grabbing coffee when she saw him. Samuel. Walking with a woman, laughing, comfortable, clearly together. He looked different. Lighter. Happier. Wearing clothes she'd never seen, stylish and confident in a way that made him almost unrecognizable. They were about to walk right past her. Samuel? The word escaped before she could stop it. He turned. For a moment she saw surprise. Then something worse, polite neutrality. His face was kind but blank, like she was a stranger asking for directions. Michelle. Hi. The woman touched his arm. I'll grab our seats, babe. Australian accent. beautiful in an effortless way Michelle could never achieve. You look good, Michelle said, her voice small. Thanks. You too. Words tumbled out, desperate and unplanned. I tried to email. I wanted to say I'm sorry. I was so stupid. I threw everything away for nothing. For a fantasy. Michelle, it's okay, Samuel said gently but firmly. It was a long time ago. A year. Feels longer. Silence hung between them like a wall. Michelle searched his face for any trace of the man who'd loved her. She saw kindness but no anger, no pain, no longing. He'd let go completely. Do you ever think about us? Samuel looked at her honestly. Sometimes. But not the way you're hoping. Are you happy? He glanced over at Lisa, then back at Michelle. Yeah. I really am. Tears formed before she could stop them. I wish I could go back. I'd choose you. Every time. Samuel's expression softened, but his words were steel. I know you would. But you can't. And honestly, Michelle? I wouldn't choose you. Not anymore. The words weren't cruel. They were just true. Take care of yourself, he said. He walked away. Michelle watched him put his arm around Lisa, watched them disappear into the crowd of travelers and lives moving forward. She stood alone in the airport, crying silently, realizing this was what closure felt like, final, irreversible, and entirely her fault. 2 years after the divorce, Michelle has her own small apartment. It took 18 months to save for it. She's a full-time nurse now, working hard, living simply, no longer chasing excitement or validation. She deleted all social media after the airport encounter. Her parents visit sometimes. Her father is kind but distant. Her mother barely speaks to her. Diane sees her own mistakes reflected in Michelle's life, and the mirror is too painful to face. Michelle's in therapy, getting better, learning to live with regret. One night while cleaning, she finds the divorce papers. She reads my letter again. You thought my silence was weakness. You underestimated the man you married. She understands now. My silence wasn't weakness, it was strategy. My calmness wasn't surrender, it was strength. I loved her enough to build a life, but I loved myself enough to walk away when she stopped valuing it. Michelle folds the letter and puts it in a memory box. She'll never throw it away. It's a reminder of the cost of taking loyalty for granted. People say revenge is about hurting someone. But my revenge wasn't about hurting Michelle. It was about choosing myself. I didn't yell. Didn't beg. Didn't fight for someone who didn't want to be kept. I just left. And that silence, that quiet, calculated exit, hurt more than anything I could have said. Michelle thought she was irreplaceable. She thought her beauty, her options, her freedom meant she had power. But power without wisdom is just arrogance. Some bridges once burned can never be rebuilt. She sees couples now, happy couples, and wonders if they know how fragile it is. If they know that love isn't about passion or excitement or validation. It's about showing up. Being faithful. Choosing each other when the choice is hard. She had one man who chose her every day. And she threw him away for a fantasy.